guys, it's Bree. I'm with the Chicago Snares USA Media Corps, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the importance of diversity and inclusion. So, what is diversity? Diversity is basically when you include everybody. So, the importance of diversity is also the importance of inclusion. If you're going to make a movie, or you're going to make a TV show, if you're going to write a book, you should be able to include people of all races, of all genders, of all sexualities, etc. easily, because the world is like that. If you think about it, you can probably see someone of any race, of any gender, of any sex, of any sexuality, of any way that they identify themselves. Every single day you're going to see someone who's completely different from yourself. And I think that's important is that you don't look at them as if they're lesser than you, ever. It's important that you can look at someone and say, okay, we deserve the same opportunities or the same experiences. You shouldn't, if you're a guy, you shouldn't look at a girl and say, yeah, I deserve to be paid more, because that's ridiculous. Like, if you're doing the same exact work, you deserve to be paid the same exact amount. Or say, if you are a person of color, you deserve to be treated the same way as your non-color counterpart. You should be able to be looked at and go, well, for example, in movies or in TV shows, usually you'll see the one black friend, or who's also known as the token. It's not fair that they're just in the background, just being sassy or just having one-liners or trying to help you get your life in order. You shouldn't be able to look at a character inside of a movie or a TV show and go, yeah, that's the token, that's the one black friend, that's the one Asian person who's just feeding into the stereotype, that's the one Latina. You should be able to look at someone and go, wow, this person of color has depth, they have character, they have a plot line that's going in that isn't focused solely around the white protagonist, because that's not diversity. Literally no one who I've ever known who was of color have ever sat there and saw a character who was used as a character of their color or of their race that was used as a token and said, wow, this character is the best character I've ever seen. This character is the best out of all of them. I love them. So for me personally, as a writer and as someone who is obsessed with television shows and obsessed with movies and obsessed with books, and just loves the idea of being able to create a world and being able to look at other people create worlds and make them, it's really important to me that I'm able to include as many people as possible. Or it's really important to me that I can see the way that they see their world. It's important that that when I'm watching a TV show or when I'm watching a movie or when I'm reading a book, it's important that I'm able to know that they don't see the world as just black and white, mainly white, but that they can see other colors, that they can see that it's a spectrum, that it's a rainbow. It's not just one way. It's not just all these characters have to be my skin color because I'm white. It should be, sure, we can have a white person, but we should also know that there's black people in the world, that there are Asian people in the world, that there are Mexican people, Hispanic people, there's Spanish people in the world, and they deserve to be able to see themselves in a beautiful light. So yeah, so a way that you can easily do this, a way that you can look at media and the way that you can know, oh, is this diverse or not? Well, one, there is a current, I can't remember the person's name, but there's a YouTube channel where they'll take a movie and they'll show every single scene in which a person of color actually said anything. And for the most part, almost every single movie is just about like 40 seconds long. And it's something that you don't really notice until you watch the video and you go, wow, I didn't actually realize that there was only one person of color inside of that 2-hour-long movie. Like, how hard is it for you to give a person of color speaking lines, honestly? But there's that. You can just analyze everything that you watch. Another thing is that you can tweet to the people who are working on the show or working on a movie and demand that you want diversity. This doesn't make you a bad person for you going, hey, I need you to include people. It doesn't make you a bad person at all. Like, for example, Haley Atwell, who does Agent Carter, she literally is working very hard. Like, she's a white lady, but she's working super hard to include diversity, to include people of color, to include women of color, to include well-written female characters on her show, because she knows that there are other people, there are people of color who want this. She knows that we need to include diversity. So tweet to people, analyze anything that you watch. And if you're someone who writes stories, if you're someone who creates worlds, if you're someone who has a power or a platform, you need to bring this to light. You need to go, you know what, I'm going to cast people of color. I'm going to make well-written female characters. I'm going to make sure that this world, regardless of if it's realistic or if it's a fantasy world or if it's whatever, just be sure to include diversity. You know, like, Black people weren't invented in like 1990. If you're watching something in the if you're watching something based in the 1950s and there's like no people of color, it's like they're saying, well, people of color weren't invented until like 10 years later, so we can't include them. We didn't have rights in the 50s, but we were invented in the 50s. I have grandparents who were born in the 50s. Trust me, they were alive in the 50s. So just make sure that you are paying attention to everything that you're watching. Make sure that you know that how important diversity really is to you. And even if it's not super important to you, then it's not that hard for you to include diversity just to be a good person. It's not that hard to include diversity to open a wider range to the people who are watching and interested in your stuff. Like, there's so many people of color who get incredibly turned off when they see, wow, I'm not represented. If you want a bigger audience, it's not that hard to just include people of color in your stuff. It's really not that hard. Then check back next week where there's going to be another Scenario Sunday vlog. And yeah, so if you want to know, if you have other ways to learn more about diversity, or if you have other ways to talk more about diversity or how you feel about diversity, just put them in the comments below, or you can tweet us on Twitter, tweet me on Twitter. We have Snapchat, we have other social media, I think. So yeah, just connect with us, talk to us about your love for diversity, talk about why you want, what you hope to see in future films and television shows and books and all that stuff. I think I said everything I need to say. So, see you guys. Yay.